So here's the largely finished 1935 Philco Model 45L. Just the chassis and speaker. With some modifications, all completely reversible. Fully recapped, bad resistors replaced. So some modifications that have been done. Like I said, everything that's been changed is reversible, even down to using holes that were already factory punched in the chassis. So plug, pigtail for plugging in your Bluetooth receiver or adapter. This is switched, so when you turn the unit on, it also turns this plug on. Another thing, big obvious bit, is a bucking transformer on this one. Today's modern voltages had the voltages inside the radio too high, so I wired in a bucking transformer that efficiently knocks down the modern 120 volt residential power down to the we're a little under 115, closer to 110 with this transformer. So that tames the voltages inside the radio, so you're not running the heater filaments too high in the tubes, drastically shortening the life of everything. On the back, a new braided cloth cord, a 3.5 millimeter audio input jack, and a switch to switch between the input jack and the radio. So this jack is the only new hole I had to drill in the chassis. This uses a factory hole, just like the hole that this cord comes through. Even these bolts are using original factory holes. You can see here, that was an original factory hole. So like I said, very few, well, that audio jack is the only thing, actual modification to the chassis. Underneath, if I can get this guy flipped up, so for the electrolytic caps, I just used terminal strips here and here. I completely left the original electrolytic capacitors there, and you can see that one underneath there. Disconnected from the circuit, but otherwise unchanged. Those big cans right there. Some resistors, caps, resistors. These bakelite blocks were emptied out. They're filled with tar and the old paper caps. So those were bad, and they were filled with modern caps. Actually, I need to get a brush and brush that off. There were some odd things in this chassis, like this mica cap. Some previous tech had clipped it here, so I was able to resolder that. There were random additional resistors that were not factory. Those were removed once I determined that they were not helping, if not making things worse. This bakelite block here is those the across the line caps. Those have been inside that block. I installed safety capacitors, so that if they go bad, they'll just blow open, much like a fuse, preventing any fire issues. So there's another one of those bakelite blocks in there. How many were there? And another one there. So there were 4 of those things in total. They're a real pain. So out of tolerance resistors were replaced, especially if they were wildly out of tolerance. So all the alignment's been done on the RF. It picks up AM and shortwave beautifully. Especially starts picking up quite a bit of shortwave stations after dark. And you can start picking up AM stations all the way from Canada, or even all the way from New Orleans up here to western North Carolina. But that doesn't start happening till after dark. So here's kind of example of reversible. So just household wire nuts. I didn't even remove the original wire here. So if someone needed to undo this signal cable coming from the audio input, they can just simply remove the audio input. You can see the switch back there, and then just resolder this original wire back to the terminal on the volume knob, and it'll be as good as original. That's bugging me. I need to get a brush and finish brushing that off, clean it off. So of course it's a stereo jack, so to sum the 2 channels together, I don't know if you can see that very well, but it uses 2 1 kilo ohm resistors to sum the left and right channels into mono, since this is a mono radio. And 2, everything is kind of looks dirty, but it has been cleaned. The dial actually looks fine once you get light behind it, once you get it turned on. All the tubes have tested good. Some wiring repairing like that. No sense in replacing this entire cord, but it was frayed closer to here. So the bad ends have been snipped off. I ended up snipping off a couple inches off of it. And then some other spots just got shrink wrap to cover it up. And contacts, switches, volume knobs. Here's another odd one. I don't know if you can see. Those are the tone capacitors. That little square metal box was also potted with tar and old paper foil capacitors. Somebody had done some weird modification to it previously, so I undid that and wired in the correct value capacitors. Like I said, that's the tone knob, 3-position tone knob. And it works absolutely beautifully. And this guy is ready to go back to its client. One other thing is the surround on the speaker did have a big crack in it. So, and I use unbleached paper coffee filters for repairs like this. It most closely mimics the original paper, and also flexible enough. It's not heavy, so it sounds great, and it'll last. So, and that's that. That's 1935 Philco Model 45L. So, I'll add a video of it working at some point. Probably do a nighttime video when I can actually really pull in some stations. And when I'm doing that, it's literally with just the minimum clip going to that antenna, and it's pretty impressive. I think so. We'll get a little video of that running and picking up some stations later after dark. In the meantime, cool stuff.